boys and girls. My name is Marcel, and with me off camera is the son of Nancy. This is Tales of the Elders.
Growing up, we in Dominica, we had a lot of those stories. If you go to a funeral, we were told whenever you go to a funeral, when you get back home from a funeral, you have to enter the house backwards. Don't just walk into the house, facing the front. You have to walk backwards, and that would prevent the dead from coming back home with you. We heard all those stories.
So do you walk through your door backwards if you return home after 12 midnight?
I used to, years gone back, but recently, no.
How long ago were you talking about? When was the last time you did it? How old were you?
Oh, I don't want to reveal my age, but that would be about 20 years ago. That long, yeah.
And was this something that your mom also practiced?
Yes, we all did it. Once we got back home after 12, you just had to, it was just normal, it was just natural, in fact, for you to go backwards.
We heard stories of hearing voices of people who had died, of seeing people who had died. Those stories went on and passed on from one generation to the next, and we heard them. But as an older person, as an adult, those stories are not true. They are not true.
So at what point would you turn around so as to walk through your doorway backward?
You get up the steps, and you just, instead of entering as you came up the step, you just turn backwards and go into the house.
And did your mom ever explain why?
Yes. You do that to avoid spirits from entering the home with you. Yeah.
Okay. And you no longer believe in that?
No.
Why is that so?
The thing is, I think once you'd have grown and become your own woman, while I know there's evil around, I think my belief, while I know there's evil around, my belief in God and in His protecting power just don't allow me, to do it, though I know that there is evil.
Well, from a Christian perspective, the Bible tells you when someone is dead, they're dead. The dead can't speak, they can't hear, the soul is dead. Whatever you hear, or whatever you see, or if you perceive that a dead person has touched you, then you know it is not the dead. It is not the dead who has come back. The Bible makes it clear that the devil can play those tricks on the living and give them the idea that it is the dead who's come back to talk to us or communicate with us. But it is not so.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard such stories from church members from different denominations with some of the same stories. And I've had the opportunity to share with them what the Bible says and to help them understand that this is not so. There's a classic story in the Bible of Saul, King Saul, the first king of Israel. When Samuel died, he used to go to Samuel for instruction and so on, and we know he never listened to the instruction that Samuel gave him from God. After the prophet Samuel died, Saul needed some instructions, and he went to the witch of Endor. And the Bible says the witch of Endor, whatever she did, Saul thought that he saw Samuel come up out of the grave and talk with him. The Bible made it clear that it was the devil who impersonated the old dead prophet and made King Saul think that he was actually talking to someone who had died. But the Bible makes it clear, when the dead is dead, they are dead. They can't communicate with us, they can't talk, they can't hear, they're dead.
Okay. Given that very point though, about the devil having such powers, would you say it's likely then that if a human being who has drifted on to the dark side, could that human being tap into those same powers?
Oh yes. We've seen it. I've seen it with, in my own experience as a child growing up back home. I've seen people who interfere and meddle with the dark side do some strange things that we know is humanly impossible. They have done some pretty strange things. I mean, we grew up hearing stories about witches and zombies and lugahu, like we say back home. People who turn themselves into animals, into dogs, witches that fly at night, and some of them in the day. We know that is humanly impossible, and so in order to do that, you have to tap into some other force beyond human.
So, have you had your own encounter with the supernatural that you can share with us?
Yes, I've had my own encounter with what you call old hag. Growing up in the village, I would have just had my son, and it was the norm to, in order to prevent them from being bitten by this spirit, old hag, you had to dress them in a blue gown at night, and you would also rub their skin with crab oil. So I would have done that. In addition to prayer, naturally. But superstition, you follow it. We tucked him for the night. And the following morning, there were no bites on his skin. But on the sheet, there was a lot of blood. And there's a window right next to the bed as well. And right below the window, there was also a big pool of blood. Right? Now, I can't explain what happened. So we spoke to an older neighbor, and she said, oh, not to worry. It was actually the old hag that had visited, but because of the crab oil on the child's skin, she was unable to suck him. But there was blood, I saw it. Okay, friends, that's all from Tales of the Elders. I want to thank Pastor Peters for sharing with us, and you, the audience, for listening. Kindly drop us your comments at the bottom of the video. And our next stop will be at Sion's house, and he's got some juicy stories, so stay tuned.